G'day YouTube, welcome to Greer's Great Aussie Adventures. I'm Ray, the blind traveller.
I'm Emily, the wife of the blind traveller.
I'm Isabel, the daughter of the blind traveller.
We've been travelling Australia since 2018 now. We've recently decided to share our travels with you guys. So sit back, relax, grab a pen and paper and plan that next holiday. G'day guys, welcome back to another install video. So last week's video I did the install on the owners of this Colorado and their Jayco journey. Van's still here over there obviously because we've got to finish the car before they can pick it up. But basically this has already got sort of a DC system in it. It was fitted back in 2016. I can't actually open the door at present, but we'll go over what's in the back when I get there. But basically it's got a drive 1000 watt inverter, red arc 25 amp DC-DC, the solar panel, and a couple of bits battery monitor, bit all red arc gear. But basically he's not happy with how efficient it all is and how it's all working. He wants to run the Engel 40 litre fridge and the Evercool 40 litre drawer fridge. On the current system that's in it, he was quoted by very reputable auto electricians. He was quoted like $3,000 just to hook up the fridges and redo a bit of the wiring and neaten it up and that sort of stuff. Basically that's just ridiculous. The setup in the front here is his start battery was here. It's got one of those coil batteries, the gel, whatever you call them, and then it's got the red arc jump starter, a couple of fuses for lights around the roof and that sort of thing, and then all the gear in the back. What we're going to basically do is rip that battery out from under the bonnet. We're going to leave the jump starter there. He wants to leave it just in case, so we can jump start. And then in the back too, he's put two under tray boxes on it. We're going to put two full river AGMs in the back there, rewire the whole DC system with an anadrive 40 plus DC-DC. We've got the ePower Pro battery monitor go in it, wire up the two fridges, maybe have a couple of outlets around it, and just get it working fully standalone, nice efficient system. Just that way you don't have to worry about it. He's going to have to upgrade the solar panels. I think it's got two 85s on it. For the two AGMs, I said to him at least go 180 and a drive. Maybe we'll see if we can squeeze two up there. That way it's never even got to be looked at again. But I'm just going to keep pulling the battery out here, and then when we push it forward I'll open up and give you a look what we're dealing with in the back. But the first stage is just removing all of the old stuff, just so we can start from a bare canvas. But yeah, I'm going to keep pulling all this out and I'll see you in a sec. Alright, so I got a bit carried away yesterday. I stuffed up and I didn't film much of the removal of everything. But basically everything from here is all completely stripped out now. This is just the lead to go to the back from all the UHF and the floodlights on the roof, everything that was wired to the front because they had the auxiliary battery under the bonnet. Now it's to go to the back. So basically just loomed all that up. The red arc DC-DC is removed. They had a massive big 100 amp fuse here for the inverter that was in the back. There was an isolator switch for the inverter in the back. But yeah, everything is completely back 100% factory in there now. So basically all that'll run to the back is that UHF lead I just said about. He wants a jump starter in it, so the two wires from the switch and the dash for that, and the main wires to feed the anadrive DC-DC. But what I did forget to film, I forgot to show you how the back was laid out. I'll give you a look at the board, but basically there's a big board that bolts up here which has all the inverter, chargers and everything. Wiring comes in through the floor and up. Basically spent most of the day removing everything, because even if you have the battery under the bonnet, how this was, the way that it should be done is you run two big leads, like 2 gauge or 0 gauge, to 2 buzz bars in the back, and then everything runs off that, whereas they've run everything from the back to the front. So the loom going to the front was massive. All the fuses, everything was under the bonnet. So basically our batteries are going to be in here now, and then everything's going to be in one area. Very simple. But I'll give you a look at the panel that was up in the roof that we pulled out. I've pulled everything off it now. Basically this bolts up into the roof. You look at it from this way, obviously the other way around. Inverter switch, the power point breaker and inverter, that's all going to remain. This was the Red Arc remote solar panel regulator, the Red Arc solar regulator, and it also had a jump starter under the back as well, just as a voltage cutout for the inverter, that way you couldn't drain the battery. So basically all the Red Arc gear, the Optimum battery that was under the bonnet, everything there, we're going to flick all that off and just go to the one Enerdrive system with the 2 full river batteries. I'm sure he'll end up going lithium down the track, but for now it'll just be the 2 full rivers. So basically I'll just got to climb around on the ground now and run this all the way back, and then run the 2 main positive and negative charge leads for the DC-DC. This does not have a smart alternator, so it'll just be positive negative straight off the battery straight to the DC-DC. And then I'll put the jumper, just go get a solenoid and put a jump solenoid in it, just in case you ever get a flat battery. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. Sorry I forgot to film how it was, but that's here nor there. You'll get to see how it is going to be. And how it was done was very, I know I said it in my last video, do it on the van, when you're doing wiring, don't only think about what you're doing now, think about the next guy, think about whoever's got to work on it down the track, because the people that have done this definitely didn't do that. It wasn't that it was unsafe, it was not very good in the respect that it was all crimp fittings, and everyone knows I'm a big hater of crimp fittings. But yeah, it was all crimp fittings. There was no loom as such, even from the DC-DC. It was basically just wires running the shortest route possible, just spiderwebbed everywhere. You couldn't get anything, it was just a nightmare to do. Basically, like I said, just think of, if you have to do it again, how easy is it going to be to do it. But I'll get underneath and start running some wiring. I'll give you a look when we get into the back of it. Alright, so we went to town today. We got pretty much all the stuff in it. Yeah, I think, hopefully anyway, hopefully we've got everything to completely do the car. Like I said, we stripped off the board. I've mounted the Enerdrive. I just got to mount the shunt for the battery monitor, and all the breakers and that sort of stuff. But that's what we had to get today. So we went shopping. What do we got? Got a shopping bag here. Obviously, like I said last time, everything's from Hanson's Auto Electrical. Yeah, can't speak highly enough. So we've got our twin core battery cable. We've got to run pretty heavy cable to the back of this because we're putting a jump starter in their back, so that way you can jump off the rear batteries if you want to. So if you're doing that, you have to make sure you allow for that. Another heap of heat shrink.
Another batch.
What else we got? With our double buzz bar. It's just for the earth because it's got the shunt as well, so you don't need as big a buzz bar. We got our 4-post buzz bar. Now with your 4-post buzz bars, 6-posts, M6 and M8s, they are pretty hard to find in stores. In the past we've always ordered them online, but we've found Hanson's has always got them in stock, so give them a call if you want one. They can probably freight it a lot quicker instantly. That, you got your arms ready?
Yep, the lug nut, one of the packets of lug nuts is open from our tester, so there it is.
So we've got a hell of a lot of eyelets, the bolts for all the...
That's the stainless steel bolts.
Yeah. And then we got... Yeah, I'm not going to take them all out, but as you can see in there,
heaps of lug nuts.
there's a hell of a lot of lugs, eyelets.
Eyelets and the
manual reset breakers.
Manual reset breakers.
I've gone the small ones on this just because on that board there's not a lot of room, so we've gone to the small manual resets. They're not auto resets, just for the simple fact that if there is a wiring short, you don't want that tripping back in all the time. That way once it throws, it throws. Little button just on the end there.
Heaps of them.
Heaps of those. One for the solar, one for DC, one for outlets.
And then there's about 5 bags of eyelets.
And then a hell of a lot of eyelets.
Grommets.
Yeah, all the grommets that go through the floor of the tray. And then we had to go to Bunnings and get the vents for the battery boxes there. So we've got one on each one. This is what we've done so far today. We've just mounted up the batteries. 2 battery trays, so the batteries are all mounted. I've had to put the battery clamp over that way because this way was hitting the latch. We've got the grommets in the back for all the wiring in and out, and he's still got a little bit of room left in there for storage and that sort of stuff. Give you a look at the other one. This is the side that's going to have the jump solenoid in it. So same thing, grommets, and it's just got the red arc solenoid there. That is just one of the red arc dual battery solenoids that have modified so it only works when you push the bridge button. It won't work when it hits 14 volt. It won't automatically trip over because it's going to have the DC-DC, so you don't want it to do that. It only works manually, basically just like an old dumb solenoid. But yeah, so batteries are all mounted. Time to do the fun thing and start running all the wiring. I'm just going to start running it all through the car, get it into the canopy, and then the car's at least movable in and out. It's not wiring laying all over the ground, and then I'll start wiring up the 12 volt board. I'll give you a look when we get there. Alright, so we've had a bit of a productive afternoon, even though we've spent basically half the day in town shopping.
Half a day.
But we got the batteries mounted, I showed you that before.
Yep.
And we've just basically mocked up, well not mocked up, it's all mounted.
We've done it.
Yeah. All the 12 volt wall. So everything's all bolted on. Like I said, that sits up all upside down, flat on the roof. So we've got the charger, we've got the battery monitor, the inverter switch, all the inverter. Like I said, that was all already there, so we've left that. We've got the main 100 amp circuit breaker / isolator, 30 amp breaker for fridges, and then we've got the individual breakers. We've just gone with the small manual breakers for these just because of the lack of room. The 4-post buzz bar to power everything, our battery monitor shunt, and that's basically it. Like it's nice and simple. There's not a lot on it. I think he's talking about one day down the track he'll put an AC charger on it, but he can mount that anywhere anyway. Run a couple of leads. But I've run the wiring from the battery through under the car and hooks up to the jump starter alternator, jump starter solenoid up the other side. So that's all ready to start hooking the DC-DC up to and start running the wiring into the actual canopy. But it's knock off time now. You can see the sun's pretty well gone away. So that's the end of today for us. And yeah, see you in the morning. We'll get started.
Alright, so I just wanted to show you some of the less glamorous sides of working and getting things done. Not everything is always peaches and rainbows, and sometimes people have to end up in really difficult situations. Exhibit A, how you doing in there?
G'day guys. Some of these spots are very squishy, but we've got all the wiring on the board now. As you can see, we're sitting the board in so we can start running the wiring from the batteries all the way up to here and all the DC-DC stuff. But yeah, some of it's very very awkward, especially when you know everyone knows I'm not a little guy. But we get in here, stay in here until it's all done.
We get the job done. Alright, so when he's like this, it basically puts me on fetch duty, run around, grab tool duty, put tools away, whatever it is he needs so he can stay in there. But anyway, I just want to show you guys because I thought it was pretty funny just watching him in here. So, alright, we're going to get back to it. We'll see you later.
Alright, so a bit of an update on the Colorado. Today's filming is actually our wedding anniversary, which you saw on Sunday. So basically we're just doing all the finishing touches and the last little things that he wants done. So I'm just up to, hey, check this out guys. Little lift to lift out the electric chair. Pretty awesome, eh? I reckon that was awesome when I saw it. But yeah, I just got to put that drain in for the drawer fridge. So it just goes down through the floor of the tray. Obviously, because a chest fridge, as the ice melts, it can lay in the bottom, whereas this will just run out everywhere. So yeah, that's just the Evercool drawer fridge. So I just got to put that drain bung through there for that, and then the angles here. But yeah, so basically you saw me climbed in here yesterday. Battery monitor, I can't hook that up until the batteries reach 100%, because you need to calibrate the gauge at full so it knows where full is. So I just got a charger on it now, charging it up. When they hit 100 we can calibrate that. But yeah, I think I showed yesterday, basically everything's all wired up, all the breakers are on, everything's working. We just got to basically wait, like I said, till they fill up. We can calibrate the monitor. And he wants to see what his solar panels are putting in. They're 285 watt panels, but they are of a fair age, so we'll see how that ends up, what they end up putting in, as to whether he changes them down the track. And all the wiring just runs up the front there in your conduit and then over across the top of the panel, so it's all nice and hidden. The other thing he wants me to do while we've got the car is this spotlight wiring here. At present, if you put stuff on the roof rack against here, it's hitting this wiring, so we're just going to cut that and move it to so it goes through the roof rack and underneath. This so it can never get pinched. But yeah, all the wiring's in here now, so it all comes through nicely, sits up, the jump starter solenoid's all working. But yeah, so basically DC side of it, everything's completely done and working fine. DC-DC's all set up. We tested all that yesterday afternoon. I just thought I'd give you a quick look, because it took me a bit of stuffing around. These Red Arc Smart solenoids, now these are just the conventional Red Arc dual battery solenoid. This had one of these originally in the past, before the actual Red Arc DC-DC. Now you can adapt these to be a dumb solenoid if you just simply want it for jump starting and not the smart DC-DC side of it. There's two ways of going about it, the way I did it and the other way. Now sorry about that. This car already had the jump starter in it, but it was through the conventional way of hooking this up as a charge system, so which means it already had the power wire and the jump start button hooked up, which was a positive circuit. Now you can hook these up on a negative circuit. The way you go about that is this blue wire here, which would normally go to your momentary button, you put to the auxiliary side, which is the back. And then the solenoid cannot work without earth, obviously. So you put a push button on your earth. So you have your push button with an earth on one side, and then this goes to the other. This jump starter button to the back, the jump starter wire to the back, sorry. And then that'll work as it'll only ever continue the circuit when you hit that button to complete the earth circuit. So that's one way of doing it. The way I've done it is, you've got two blue wires coming out here. The bottom one, which goes onto the solenoid itself, I've cut it there, so that way it bypasses the little smart circuit box here on the front. The earth is hooked up as per normal, and then that wire goes to his original jump start button. So basically it doesn't complete the circuit until that button is pushed. It'll never complete the circuit at 14 volt the way these were conventionally meant to do it, because you're bypassing this smart box on the front here. But that was just a bit of info on how to convert the Red Arc solenoids to just a pure jump start solenoid. I don't know if anyone else wants to do it, but it's there. If you do, if you know anyone that wants to do it, just tell them to jump on and have a look. But I'm going to get in now. I've got to measure up where I can drill this drain hole, because there is a 8 litre water tank of 70 was it?
70 litres.
A 70 litre water tank under the floor there. I think it's maybe just past it, but I will have a quick squeeze, make sure we're not going to drill a hole in the top of the tank.
Very important.
And then once that's done, I can turn the fridges on. Once the batteries are full, I can calibrate the gauge, turn the fridges on, get all that running, and I'll reroute those lights.
Sorry.
Alright.
Back to what you're doing, sorry.
Yeah, reroute the lights, and then this is completely finished and it can be hooked up to the van and they can come and pick up the whole lot. One thing with the van too, I did show in the video, the microwave drew
It was 129
amps, and in that video I did say that we only had a 100 amp breaker, and yes, the breaker did pop after 15 seconds.
I think it was just a little bit longer than 15 seconds. We had the timer set for a minute. I think it was closer to the 20 seconds.
Yeah, obviously I underestimated how much the microwave was going to pull.
Yeah.
So we are going to put a 150 amp breaker on that.
Yeah.
I want to keep the break. You can bypass the breaker and purely run on that safety fuse, the 250 amp fuse, but the problem with that is if you pop that fuse and you haven't got a spare, you don't have anything in that circuit. Yeah, everything's dead. Whereas at least by having the resettable breaker just a bit smaller than that fuse, is if it ever does overload the system, it'll pop that breaker rather than blowing your fuse. Yeah, that way you can just find the problem, reset the breaker, and you're off again.
Yeah, or if it was like an overheating issue because it overamps, you just gotta let the system cool down and then you can flick it back on. You don't need to be stuck in the middle of nowhere with no spare parts.
Yeah. So we'll be getting a 150 amp breaker for that, but that's here nor there anyway, it's all working. But yeah, so I'll get this hole drilled, move the wiring, and give you a final look at the whole system, and then we'll call it quits. I'll see you soon. Alright, so I just put the drain on the Evercool. I just wanted to say something to you in case you're ever doing this in your own car. Basically, it has a 3/8 outlet, so 10mm outlet here on the back of the fridge. And then you just got to run it down through the floor. Instead of just running that clear tubing, I've run the John Guest pipe, so I've stepped it up to 13mm. That way you can use the John Guest pipe, because you got to think in the future when that pipe's going to be here and you're throwing stuff in the back, you don't want to crush that pipe, because if you crush that pipe, the water's not going to drain out. Means the water's going to run out here and then all through your canopy. So make sure where you run your drain hoses, it can never be crushed and kinked off. I just thought I'd bring that up while I'm doing it, while it's fresh in my head, just so just a lot more rigid. You can also clamp it a lot better. This is the stuff here I'm talking about. So instead of just running the clear plastic tubing all the way, you can see that squashes quite easily. I don't know where the camera is. But yeah, the last thing you want is that to crush in and flood your canopy out. So I'm just going to put everything back in the back now and then move these lights and we're done, all finished. But I think bacon eggs is nearly ready, guys, so breakfast is calling. But see you in a sec. Alright, so obviously we're all done, finally. Actually, can you just pop the bonnet? I'll just give another look under the bonnet now that it's all completely finished. But so as I showed, under here is completely 100% back to factory, except for, we just wanted to have that, except for the DC-DC cables. So as you can see here, it's still got the custom made battery clamp, because obviously the original one was removed when whoever did this schmozzle that was here. But it's still got a battery clamp down the bottom, so that's all good. But all that's back to factory now, a lot neater than it was, a hell of a lot neater. We've done the spotlights at the top, where I was saying used to be in the way of the front of the rack here. We've come through the grommet. There was already a grommet under the roof rack there, so I've come down through that. So that's all done. Evercool is done and running. I showed you the drain hose, so that's all done. But that's all done. Nice and cold in there. I'm going to recommend it to the owner of this car, because he's got the Engel chest fridge and this drawer fridge. You're far better off running these as a fridge, not a freezer. Like, they do work as a freezer, but they're nowhere near as efficient as a chest fridge. So I'm going to recommend that he runs this one as his fridge and the Engel as his freezer, and recommend anyone else there to do the same thing. Like I said, they do work, they just run a lot more, obviously, because they haven't got that full insulation capability. And I'll just show you one more thing on that too, actually. But in here, like I said, we're all done, everything's back in. Engel's running, ice cold, but battery monitor's all calibrated now and working. What are we sitting at? We haven't got much sun.
We're on 99%, but we have a 3.2 amp draw at the minute.
So at present, the solar panels aren't having a positive reaction. They're still putting in like a 2 amps, but
It's cloudy.
they're pretty old panels, and like I said, they're not a real good standard of panel. But like as soon as the sun comes out, it pulls back up the float. They do charge it still. But being today the first day of it all running, we'll leave it all on tonight, and then tomorrow will be the good gauge of whether it can bring it back up.
Yeah, today is like a catch-up day.
Yeah, so we'll just wait and see what happens. But that's all done, working, all hooked up. Anderson plug on the rear is all working. He wanted an Anderson plug on the back, just to be able to hook a remote pump up to suck out of creeks and all that sort of stuff.
So that's done.
But yeah, so that's the DC system done on this 2016 Colorado in a bull canopy. And this board was made by whoever did the, had it made, the old DC system had it made, so we just reutilised all that. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to hit like if you did. Subscribe to the channel. Any comments, leave them below. This will be our last install now for quite a while, because literally it's down to a few weeks. We're back on the road.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Back to travelling.
Oh, so good, guys. Just
oh my God.
looking forward. Like we love doing the house sit for the simple fact that we did get our new canopy done.
Yep. And I enjoy my time with animals.
Yeah, she loves that. And we did get to, help Dad out with his van. Got to do this one.
Yeah.
So thanks to everyone for letting us do their DC systems. But yeah, so don't forget to tune in next weekend for, it'll be the last canopy build video.
Yeah.
Buttoning up and everything on that. It's a pretty exciting one. Like I said, it will be all finished, and there's some exciting news in it.
We're not going to tell you.
I'm not going to tell you that, you got to wait,
Hey.
you know that. But like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe to all that stuff.
All that other good stuff.
And we'll see you next week.